ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। So we were seeing the danger of the sense objects, the warning that Shankaracharya is giving here to the seeker, that how the senses, 5 examples of 5 animals were given. Each animal is attached to one sense faculty, one sense object, and that animal meets its destruction. And Shankaracharya concludes that what is the fate of man who is attached to all the 5? By implication, all the 10. Then he gave the analogy of the sense objects being more dangerous than the poison also. Poison is going to destroy or harm only somebody who consumes it. But sense objects, even the moment we see them, then the desire for it starts, then the brooding starts. So the drashtaram chakshushapyayam. Then he gave the example of a seeker who is trying to cross this ocean of samsara without having proper vairagya. The shark of desire, as though, catches him at the throat and pulls him down, and that person drowns in this samsara. Contrasting picture was somebody who has tivra vairagya or has proper vairagya based on vivek. With that sword of vairagya, that person as though has cut asunder this shark of desire, and that person goes beyond the ocean of samsara. So till that we have done, that is till verse 80. See, the attachment to the sense objects and the craving for the pleasures of the sense objects is very, very deep. And so the mind needs to be reminded again and again and again. This is not a condemnation of sense objects or anybody who is enjoying life. It is their choice. This is a reminder to our own mind that, oh mind, these sense objects are very dangerous. Be cautious, be alert, live in sense mastery. So Gurudev always used to give one sentence, that life is a death-long discipline. Till the last minute, one has to live in self-control, mind management, desire management, all that. One cannot let the mind loose. So the next one, he gives an analogy again, 81st one. Vishama Vishayamargaihi Gacchato Nacha Buddhehe Pratipadam Abhiyato Mrityurapyesha Vidhi Hita Sujana Guruktya Gacchata Swasya Yuktya Prabhavati Phala Siddhi Satyamityeva Vidhi. Again, here there is a contrasting picture. First 2 lines depict the state of one type of person, next 2 lines depict the state of another type of person. So, Anacha Buddhe, meaning a foolish person. Foolish here does not mean somebody who doesn't even have basic intelligence. Here, foolish person is one who, in spite of knowing the danger of sense objects, still is not alert. Still allows the mind to be fascinated by the sense objects and gets attached to them. That person is called foolish here. Vishama Vishaya Margaihi Gachatah. That's the definition of the foolish here actually. Who goes through the dangerous path of sense objects and sense pleasures. Vishama is dangerous. Vishaya Margaihi, the path of the sense objects and pleasures. Gachato Anacha Buddhe. That person is wantedly going into this enjoyment realm more and more. Pratibadam abhiyato mrutyurapyesha vidhi. As he goes along, in every step moving along on the way, mrutyurapyesha vidhi. That person is going to meet death. Now everybody will ultimately die. The body will drop. But here it is pratipadam. Step by step, the person is actually encountering death. In what sense? As we saw yesterday, the craving for sense pleasures can dim the thirst for knowledge. The sincere desire to serve, to purify the mind, to seek knowledge, to turn within, to contemplate. These are much more subtler. And these can be completely eclipsed by the desire for sense enjoyment. A simple example, if we take, suppose we know that we have got up in the morning, we have gone for exercise, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, came back, took bath. We know that, okay, 7:30 I am eating breakfast. Now, 7:45 to 8:15, half an hour, one must do some japa or meditation. At 7:30, when one sits for breakfast, one feels, okay, let me watch TV for 15 minutes while I'm eating this food. And one puts on something on television or on computer somewhere. One starts eating food. When the mind starts getting engrossed in what one is seeing, slowly, instead of completing the food quickly and getting back to meditation, what happens? The mind gets engrossed. And the mind gets engrossed in that, it will postpone saying meditation I will do little later, or it will say not today, I have done 4 days, today I will take a break. So the sincerity with which I would have done that reduces. This is just one example about watching something. It can be for any sense object. There are series which are there on the internet. So the mind gets hooked on to the series of episodes until one doesn't complete what we call as binge watching. That will happen. One will start watching more and more and more. One knows that tomorrow morning I have an important assignment to complete. I have to go to the office early. But the mind which is attached to sense objects will just not give up. And it affects the health, it affects the performance, efficiency, everything. So it's not only in the spiritual realm, even in the material realm where one wants to enjoy, when one wants to achieve success in the profession, in one's work, this attachment to sense objects pulls a person down. We start with great self-control, saying that no, I will enjoy with control and only this much, nothing more than that. Maybe 1 or 2 days we are able to do that also, but again after some time we are back to square one, again the mind pulls us down. So this, step by step this happens. Pratipadam abhiyato mrutyurapyesha vidhi. What is the contrasting picture? Hita sujana guruktya. Hita sujana means people who are our well-wishers, good people. And Guru, the master, Sadguru. Hita sujana guru uktya. The contrasting picture is that here is a person who follows what the scriptures or the people who are well-wishers or the Sadguru is saying, or all the three. Gacchataha swasya yuktya, and uses one's own thinking and logic also. Again and again convinces the mind that yes, there is attachment to sense object which pulls us down. So one should be very careful, one should be very alert, and puts that self-effort to stay in self-control. What happens to that person? Prabhavati phala siddhihi. Phala siddhi. Phala here means the state of realization. The goal basically, what one wants to achieve. In spiritual realm, we say spirit realization. It can be even in the material realm, anything else that one wants. Prabhavati. It will happen for that person. Satyamityeva vidhi. That person will achieve the goal. Know this as the truth. So now these are the two contrasting pictures. One who follows the path of senses meets destruction. One who follows the path of self-control realizes the absolute. Both these are two different paths. Because one path requires extrovertedness, one path requires introvertedness. And which is where the fourfold qualifications and all that comes into play in the second path. Hita Sujana Guru Uktya. Once we have the faith either in the Shastra or in the Sadguru, that what they are saying is a fact and I just will follow what they are saying. Hita Sujana Guru Uktya. So one has heard, one has read through, one has reflected Swasya Yuktya and convinced oneself that yes, this is true. And it is not just a one-time conviction, because it is step-by-step temptation comes. Every moment we have a choice. Whether we fall in for the sense objects or whether we live in sense mastery. Thereby, even if we enjoy, we know that the consequences are not binding. So, Shreyas and Preyas, what is good and what is pleasant. In that one chooses what is good. And what is righteous and what is unrighteous, there one leaves the unrighteous pleasure. One does not justify. So step by step, this choice is there to every seeker. In what we see, what we eat, what we hear, what we smell, what we touch, every moment. So we were saying that every moment there is this choice which is available to the human being. And one has to choose very carefully. What is permitted, what is prohibited, that itself is a choice where one does not indulge in the prohibited. And even in what is permitted, one enjoys in such a way that it does not hamper the spiritual growth or the desire for knowledge. And the mind comes out of that craving to enjoy more. That is the most important aspect. When we start walking the spiritual path, it is not more about do's and don'ts. It starts off with that, no doubt, and one tries to live and follow those instructions given in the Shastra or the instructions given by the teacher, the master. It is more the intuitive clarity that how long will one depend, how much will one crave. Every sense enjoyment leads to more craving and makes a person more dependent, drains the energy. The more one thinks Swasya Yuktya, the more Vairagya the person gets. And those verses which we already saw, they present the other side of sense objects, which nobody presents to us. Everybody would present only the fascinating part of the sense objects, which will tempt the individual more and more. If one says that I want to enjoy more, I want to explore more, I want to see, and then I will come to Vairagya, that is up to one. That a choice a person always makes. And that's why we said in the beginning yesterday that this is for a person who wants intense Vairagya, intense desire for liberation, one who has. For that person, these verses are very powerful and very important, which help the person. Now, one thing one may say that if already the person has cultivated Vivek, Vairagya, Shatka, Sampati, Mumukshutvam, then why does the person need all these verses mainly? That's why it is not a one-time affair. It's not that one can say that now my Vivek is cultivated 100%, now I have proper Vairagya. It is a constant process. Till the goal is not reached, the sadhan chatushtaya have to get strengthened more and more and more. Because at which moment, which vasana will arise, what tempts the mind, we don't know. The impressions of so many lives are stored up in this mind. Which one comes up and which one is ready to give result, no idea. Hence, it is said in the Upanishad that it is like walking on the razor's edge. It is a very sharp, like a razor's edge. It will cut the feet of the individual. It is like that. Walking on the razor's edge. Shurasya dhara nishita duratyaya. It is difficult to cross over this path, this ocean of samsara. Durgam pathastat kavayo vadanti. Very, very difficult, as the seers, they say. Those who have gone on this path, they exclaim, and that's why they are giving all these warnings that be careful on this path, these are the dangers. So keep the mind focused on the goal, walk the path without getting distracted. To help us not to get distracted, all these verses are given. So even as spiritual seeker, as we go, even in a trek, etc., when we see, as we go higher and higher, the oxygen becomes lesser, the body wears out faster. So the last few kilometers may be sounding very less, oh, they're only 2 kilometers, or only 3 kilometers more. But they are more challenging. Because one is going higher, ascending. In the same way, the spiritual path. Hence, one uses all these verses, that how the mind can be kept alert, mind can be kept cautious. Every single day, actually, one has to remind oneself of what is the goal that one has, what is the means that one is choosing, how nivritti is the means and not bhoga vritti. So that way one has to constantly remind oneself. The next one, he continues the same thought. Mokshasya kangsha vadivaitavasti tyajati durad vishayan visham yatha piyushavatto shadayakshamarjava prashantidantir bhaja nityam adarat. And as I said, these are some of the verses which are very powerful to even memorize and to keep telling oneself, to keep reminding oneself. So Shankaracharya ji says, Mokshasya kangsha yadi vai tavasti. If you have a desire for moksha, meaning one has seen everything else in the world, enjoyed, understood the limitation, and with intense seeking, one wants only moksha. Mokshasya kangsha yadi vai tava asti. If you have that, tyajati durat vishayam. By far reject the sense objects. Visham yatha, like poison. There will not be any craving for poison. Does anybody want even to try? Okay, let me try even once. That's the implication here. A little bit, let me try, just one drop. Nobody will want poison. So the absence of craving, like we have no craving for poison, the mind will not justify even a little bit, saying, okay, if not more, just for a few moments. No. Tyajati durat. From far you reject it. It doesn't even come in the mind. The thought doesn't even come. So it's not about physical distance. It's about the mental absence. Tyajati durat. It doesn't even come in the mind that I must have some poison. Tyajati durat. Vishayan visham yatha. You know, in the life of Chandragupta, it is said that every day Chandragupta was given food which was mixed with a little bit of poison, so that when he eats food, little doses of poison there, it is going into his body. So his body has got used to poison. So if some enemy tries to kill him by poisoning him through food, he will not die. Chanakya used to do that. He trained Chandragupta in that way. So if our body is so that it will get used to even poison. In small doses, the body got used to it. So in the sense objects are also like that. Generally, nobody will want to crave and want poison. Chandragupta didn't even know actually that he was being fed poison. Later on, he came to know because once when his food was poisoned and he ate, nothing happened to him. And then he found out that, oh, this is because Chandragupta used to do this. So our body is like that, where it gets used to it. Same way the mind. If we try to consume the sense objects even little by little, ultimately it will get used to it. Hence he says, Tyajat duram. By far reject it. Vishayan visham yatha. That's why the first line is important. Mokshasya kamsha yadi vai tavasti. If we want moksha, then sense objects have to be dropped from far. And what to do? Piyushavat. If the poison is that which destroys, nectar is that which will revive. Piyusha. Piyusha is the nectar which generally is taken from the flowers. The bees, the bees will take out the nectar. That is the Piyusha. So what should the mind do? The mind does not know. If you tell the mind, don't do this, that is not an instruction. One has to tell the mind what to do. Simply saying don't engage in sense objects, the mind will be left without any occupation. What should the mind do? So he says, Piyushavat, like the nectar, cultivate these values. Tosha means contentment, santosha. Daya, compassion. Kshama, forgiveness. Arjava, straightforwardness. Prashanti, extreme calmness of the mind. Danti, control of the senses. Bhaja nityam adarat. Consciously cultivate this nityam at all times. Try to live in these values. So the hierarchy for the mind is, it craves for prohibited pleasure. Higher than that is permitted pleasure. Higher than that are values of life. Higher than that is Swadharma. And higher than that is the fourfold qualifications and then the realization of the truth through Shravan Manan Nididhyasana. So the mind has these different steps that it can keep climbing slowly and reach the goal, Mokshasya Kamsha. So values play a very important role where I hold on to values. So the intellect uncompromisingly lives the values and the mind gets tamed by holding on to these values. So the interesting point here is that tosha is the first value, contentment. Piyushavat tosha, santosha. A life which is contented and inspired at the same time is a life where the mind is directed in a very positive, inspiring direction which is higher. A discontented mind will want to escape, will be frustrated, will be negative, will be complaining, cribbing. That mind is a much more easier victim of sense objects. Because the mind is so frustrated, it wants some outlet, some relief. So naturally it engages in sense enjoyments. Don't we see that people who are frustrated, what is the common escape means? The escape means common is the prohibited pleasure, which is alcohol, where one wants to just forget everything, become unconscious, become dull, because one can't handle that frustration. So why people do that? One is for pleasure, one is for some status symbol. So many reasons they do, but one of the reasons is this frustration is there. The mind which is frustrated becomes much more easier victim of sense objects, and that's why in spiritual path, santosh plays a very big role. Contentment, and contentment comes with gratitude, counting our blessings, and having the clarity that contentment is not equal to complacency. Complacency is tamoguna, contentment is sattva guna. So when a mind is contented, what is the drive for that person to work? The drive for that person, the motivation is the inspiration. That what is the field which inspires me? The love for the work inspires me, not just certain ambition and certain popularity that comes with achievement of the goal. So when I love to do my work, then I will be more and more creative, more and more higher standards I will set, and I'll keep working. So contentment is a very, very important quality in spiritual life because it matters in every field, whether it is contentment at work and results, contentment in relationships, that people are there to love me, I have a good family, or I have friends who understand me. Even if I may not have as many, few people are there. In relationships, contentment. Most important is contentment with one who one is. Then the other contentments will happen. Contentment in work, contentment in relationships, in one's own spiritual growth. So when the person develops more and more contentment, discontentment has to be put aside. That's the greed part. Shankaracharya in Bhajgovidam says, Yallabhase nija karmo patam vittam tena vinodaya chittam. Whatever we are attaining with our hard work, be content with that. So greed goes by contentment. And contentment one can live in by invoking the blessings of the Lord and feeling grateful for all the blessings that we have. So Piyushavat Tosha. Whenever the mind says that I don't have this, then we should train the mind to see what we already have. Even if we want to achieve something after that, there is nothing wrong in achieving. There is nothing wrong in trying to get something which we may not have. But the attitude is not of insecurity. The attitude is out of inspiration, out of the desire to excel. Where one has counted the blessings, one feels grateful and thankful, and then one wants to explore more. So the attitude is different. So Piyushavat Tosha. Cultivate Tosha, compassion, contentment. Then Daya, compassion. Piyushavat Tosha Daya, where one has compassion for the suffering, for the poor, for the needy, for even they may not be poor, but suffering. So compassion and active compassion, where one goes out and does something. So many people are affected so much in the Kerala floods. When the suffering is intense and when one wants to go out and serve those who are suffering, will there be a craving for sense pleasures at that time? When the whole place is flooded, there's so much of silt which has come in, people's homes are washed out, they don't have place to stay, food is not there, water is not there proper to drink. Where will there be sense pleasure, the desire for sense pleasure? The basic necessities are not there. So a person who is engaged in serving the society, whose heart is filled with compassion, is wanting to eliminate the suffering of the people. That is another method of positively engaging the mind. Instead of saying don't engage in sense object, don't do this, don't do that. Positively identify a cause. There is so much of suffering in this world. at different levels. Physical level, people are suffering. Emotional level, people are suffering. Intellectual level, there is lack of clarity, one is suffering. Spiritual level, there is no connection with the truth, one is suffering. Basic necessities are not there. So at any level, one can identify that there is sorrow in this world. What am I doing to help to make this life of somebody better? And it is not a one-time act of charity or a feel-good factor that, okay, I went to an orphanage, I helped somebody, I did something. If the mind is identifying with a particular cause and does something regularly, slowly that purifies the mind. And this craving for sense pleasures goes away. If there are people I know who go and serve voluntarily, they will go and serve in a cancer institute, they will sit with the patients, they will take food for them, or they will sit with them, give them some company. Week after week they go. That kind of a regular seva helps, because when they go and they see what there are people who are battling with life, and here our mind goes into the direction of sense enjoyments uncontrolled, where the mind is deluded. When life ends, nobody knows, like was said earlier. Pratipadam abhiyato mrityurapyesha vidhi. The death is there on every step. So one gets a particular cause to identify with, which is close to one's heart, where one sees that this is a suffering and this I can do this to remove. That active compassion is what is spoken here. Not passive compassion and pity, that one pities people who are suffering, occasionally does something. That is not, here it is said, these are nectarine qualities which help the mind to go to reduce the craving for sense pleasure. So contentment, compassion, piyushavat, tosha, daya, kshama. Again, as I said, the mind which is frustrated will indulge. If I am hurt, if I have done something wrong or somebody has done something to hurt me, now that pain is there. Now how do I let go of that pain? Forgiveness. Invoke love. Forgive people. Forgiveness is the process of ceasing to feel resentment or anger towards somebody who has caused pain to us. And it is for our own peace and happiness. It is not for somebody outside. The more I forgive, the more the mind is free, the more the mind is ready to evolve. The more one holds a grudge, the more the mind is frustrated. And if one brings it up again and again, one just does not let go, we may end up making wrong choices. So forgiveness is to free us from this. Gurudev used to give a very nice example that the sandalwood perfumes the very axe that cuts it. The rose petals and the tulsi leaves, they make the very hand fragrant that crushes it. So that is forgiveness. Another example is when we throw stones at a tree, the tree gives fruit. This example was used when a king was going along and there was one, the procession is happening and there was one lady who was very frustrated. Something which was happening in the kingdom, the lady was very frustrated. So as the procession is going on, she took a stone and she hurled it at the king. It hit the crown of the king and immediately this woman was arrested. So they took her to the court and the king sentenced this woman to some life imprisonment or something. So she started laughing. So the king said, "What happened?" And she started laughing, saying, "You are worse than a tree also." A tree, when I hit a stone, I get a mango. But when I hit you, I get this. So who is greater? So that shook up the king also. The king made the changes that he needed to make in his administration, and then the lady was set free. All that happened. The point is that forgiveness is like that. One doesn't hold a grudge. One goes out to help out. Because when somebody is hurting me, the person is hurt first. That empathy is what helps us to forgive. We generally think that that person has hurt us and he has forgotten. And we are brooding in our mind. So to free us, we should drop the hurt and we should forgive that person. No doubt that has to be done, and it is true. But we should also know one more fact, that when somebody is hurting me, especially when somebody is hurting me knowingly, it is impossible to hurt somebody without hurting oneself. If an angry thought has to come, if I have to shout at somebody and verbally abuse somebody, I have to be disturbed first. So when that empathy is invoked, compassion is invoked, one lets go. So piyusha vattosha daya kshama. Because again, not forgiving leads to frustration, leads to sense indulgence. Escape route is sense indulgence. Kshama, daya, arjavam, straightforwardness. What is this straightforwardness? The integrity in thought, word and deed. When it is applied for a noble cause, that is called straightforwardness. What one is thinking, same is one is feeling, that one is speaking and acting. That is straightforwardness. Not something else inside, something else outside. That is manipulation. That is cunningness. Like Duryodhan was scared from inside, but when he goes to his teacher Dronacharya, he taunts the teacher and comes back. The fear and stress is inside, but outside there is a show of strength as though. That is hypocrisy. That is disintegrity. Arjun, when he felt the delusion and he was overwhelmed, he gave justifications, no doubt, but he cried. He fell at the feet of Krishna saying, this is what is my condition now. Straightforward. The word Arjun comes from that Riju. What is said here? Arjavam. He was very straightforward and he told Krishna that this is what I am feeling, and he did not have any hesitation even in crying. He did not say both the armies are there, what will they think about me. He didn't bring prestige issue. In front of his teacher he opened up. It is what I am feeling. And he surrendered. So the knowledge he got, and he was able to sort out his psychological breakdown and he came out of it. In the same way here it is. Arjavam, when one is straightforward. See, cunningness, manipulation is when we will have a desire, find ways to indulge, and then appear as though I am living in self-control. That is manipulation. Where one has presented oneself as a great tapaswin, great yogi, or a great person who is in self-control, who never breaks the discipline of self-control. But secretly one is enjoying, one is indulging. So disintegrity will feed the sense of pleasures. When one is straightforward, one enjoys it, one accepts that yes, there is this attachment I have. So one will work hard to come out of that attachment. But when there is no straightforwardness, the mind will engage in justifying. And the mind will say that this much is allowed, this is okay, this is all right. In spite of knowing that that is not all right. Especially in case of prohibited pleasure, the mind will do that. So straightforwardness is another quality which will help in sense mastery. Where one can accept that yes, these are my attachments, I have to consciously overcome, and I am putting this effort to overcome. And if one has, one has compromised in that then one accepts that also, that yes, I compromised here, and takes up a atonement, a prayaschitta for that, saying that this I did, so I will deny myself these things, or I will put the body through rigorous discipline, do extra tapas. So a person who is straightforward will be able to master the senses better, much more effortlessly, versus a person who has no straightforwardness. The senses will take the person for granted. So Piyushava, Tosha, Daya, Kshama, Arjava, Prashanti, calmness of the mind, no reactions, equanimity of the mind. Again, this Prashanti comes by devotion. When one learns to accept life as it comes, the mind remains calm. What we spoke as Shama in the earlier fourfold qualifications. So Prashanti, the mind does not react, no agitations, because one, even if agitations are there, one knows to channelize it through acceptance, through spiritual pursuit, not engaging in escape routes. And Danti is Dhamma, Prashanti Danti, control of the sense organs. Consciously one cultivates, where one avoids those situations which will create temptation, which will create an opportunity to compromise. One avoids that. And also at others, what is permitted also, one engages in moderation. So the sense control points that we spoke yesterday, the example of tortoise, when it is conducive, the tortoise walks slowly, gently. When there is a sense of danger, the tortoise withdraws. So a seeker's mind is like that, lives in sense mastery. Many people think that this is a restricted way of living, that one is not able to do what one wants to do, freedom is curbed, one has too many do's and don'ts. But it is not do's and don'ts, it is life principles that one has understood out of experience. That self-mastery is so much more important, sense mastery, to walk on the spiritual path. And one has seen the limitations of sense pleasures, one has seen the excitement, one has seen the temporary pleasure, one has seen the craving it leaves behind, draining of energy, one has seen through all that. So one lives in self-control. So the mind is engaged in cultivating these qualities. So now this ends the section of sense objects and how they are so, one has to be so cautious while engaging with the sense objects. This is not to hold back or to make a person hesitant or an escapist in life. This is meant for somebody who is walking the higher way of the self-knowledge. Now he comes to the body aspect. Why do we have the craving for sense pleasure? Because we are attached to the body, and the pleasure of the body is my pleasure. So in the earlier verse, earlier section about the body, briefly he already spoke about it. Aham mameti prathitam shariram mohaspadam. But that is elaborated here now, because these are the verses which help to cultivate Tivra Vairagya also, and they make a person have the right perspective also about the body. So the 83rd verse. Anukshanam yat parihritya krityam anadya vidyakrita bandha mokshanam deha parartho yamamushya poshane yasajjate sasvamanena hanti. So it says anukshanam yat parihritya krityam anadya vidyakrita bandha mokshanam deha parartha ayam amushya poshane ya sajjate sasvamanena hanti. So deha parartha, this body is attained for, the body we have got for liberation. Deha parartha. Artha means desire or the goal. Para means supreme. The supreme goal is moksha. So this body is given to us, or we have by our own punya karma or evolution, we have come to this human body to realize the truth. Deha parartha. But one who does not use this, ayam amushya poshane, one is using the body to nourish what? Constantly anadi avidya krita bandham. One is strengthening the bondage by engaging and attaching oneself to this body. Yaha sajjate, one who gets attached to this body, and instead of mokshanam, instead of freedom from ignorance, one is going to strengthen that ignorance. That person, swam anena hanti, is destroying himself. Anukshanam, moment by moment. Anukshanam yat parihritya kritya. That person is constantly engaging in an opposite motive. So the desire that we must be free, we must use the body for freedom, that desire goes away. Anukshanam yat parihritya kritya. So parihritya means to leave aside. One has forgotten that. And what one is doing, what one should do, krityam, that one has left aside. Parihritya kritya. Hra means harati. So leaving aside. So parihritya kritya. So what is to be done with the body? The word krita krityata means the fulfillment. Why is it the meaning fulfillment? What needs to be done is done. Krita, done. Kritya, what needs to be done. Same way, parihritya kritya. What needs to be done is to use the body to get freedom from ignorance. But that one has dropped, parihritya. Why? One has got attached to the body. Ya sajjate, one who thinks I am this body and pleasure of the body is my pleasure. So one has abandoned that main purpose. And what is one doing? Deha parartho yam amushya poshane. And one is strengthening the ignorance. So one is doing the contrary. Not engaging in spiritual pursuit to get liberation is one aspect. But engaging in the other path, in the other way, the path where one falls by strengthening this ignorance. That person, swam anena hanti. That person is actually destroying oneself. So that's the meaning given here. Meaning, one who gets attached to the body, thinking that I am only this body, pleasure of the body is my pleasure. Gurudev used to say that to live in the body as the body is the Virochana cult. Virochan was the king of the demons. When he went to Brahmaji, Virochana and Indra, both of them went to Brahmaji to know the truth. Brahmaji told them, go to this particular lake. What you see there is the truth. They both went and they saw. What did they see? They saw the reflection. So Virochan thought that yes, the body is the truth. There is nothing higher than this body. There is only one life. So eat, drink and enjoy. Bas. So he went back saying, yes, I know the truth. The body alone is the truth now. There is nothing beyond this body. Indra said, there is something wrong here. How can this body be the truth? So he goes to Brahmaji. Brahmaji says, you have to do tapas for 32 years. Live in brahmacharya for 32 years. Live in sense control for 32 years. Then your mind will become sharp, subtle, pure. So Indra goes. He lives in self-control for 32 years. Comes back to Brahmaji. Brahmaji says, go to the lake. Now this time when he sees in the lake, what he finds? He understands that there is a seer who is different from the seen. And he thinks that that seer is I, the Jiva. So he goes back to Brahmaji saying that is Jiva the truth? Because the body does not remain. As long as karma is there, body remains. After that, the body will drop. But the Jiva continues. So is the Jiva the truth? Brahmaji says, no, you still have to purify the mind. Again, another 32 years, he says, go and live in self-control. Then when he comes back, he sends him there again. And this time when he goes there and he sees, then he understands that, okay, there is the Jiva which is subtler than the body, but what makes that Jiva function is that pure consciousness. And it is that consciousness which is the truth. Neither the body is the truth, nor the Jiva is the truth. Consciousness alone is the truth. He goes back to Brahmaji and he says, this is what I have understood. And Brahmaji tells him, yes, and that consciousness in you is the consciousness everywhere. So the story also is to give again two examples. One is a person who was attached to the body. He saw that only himself as the body. Goes back and he lives a life of only indulgence. Because body is the truth. There is nothing greater than that. And contrast is to know the truth. Brahmaji himself tells, the creator tells Indra, you have to live in self-control. Indra is the king of devatas and Devayoni is a Bhogayoni. It is to enjoy the Punya Karma. But even that Indra got fed up saying that enough of this sense pleasure, now I want to know what is the truth. And for that he lived in self-control. And he was able to, because of that self-control, he was able to come out of body identification. So the beauty of controlling the senses is that our attachment to the body reduces. The more and more disciplined a person lives, the less and less is the feeling that I am this body. And that self-importance also reduces. So this section is now about the body. More about it we will continue in the upcoming sessions in the next month. Om Purnamada Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.